John Jacob Astor, born Johann Jacob Astor, was a German-American businessman, merchant, fur trader, and investor who was the first prominent member of the Astor family and the first multimillionaire in the United States. He was the creator of the first trust in the United States. He emigrated to England as a teenager and worked as a musical instrument manufacturer. Astor moved to the United States after the American Revolutionary War. He entered the fur trade and built a monopoly, managing a business empire that extended to the Great Lakes region and Canada, and later expanded into the American West and Pacific coast. Seeing the decline of demand, he got out of the fur trade in 1830, diversifying by investing in New York City real estate and later becoming a famed patron of the arts. Biography. Early life. Johann Jacob Astor was born in Waldorf near Heidelberg in the Old Palatinate. It became part of the Duchy of Baden in 1803. He was the youngest son of Johann Jacob Astor and Maria Magdalena Waffelder. His three elder brothers were Georg, Heinrich, and Melchior. Astor's father was a butcher. He first worked in his father's shop and as a dairy salesman. In 1779, at the age of 16, he moved to London to join his brother George in working for Astor and Broadwood, their uncle's piano and flute manufactory. While there, he learned English and anglicized his name. Immigration to the United States. In 1783 or March 1784, Astor immigrated to New York City, just following the end of its Revolutionary War. His intent was to join his brother Henry, who had established a butcher shop there, but a chance meeting with a fur trader on his voyage inspired him to join the North American fur trade as well. After working at his brother's shop for a time, he began to purchase rawhides from the Native Americans, to prepare them himself, and then to resell them at London and elsewhere at great profit. He opened his own fur goods shop in New York in the late 1780s and also served as the New York agent of his uncle's musical instrument business. Fortune from fur trade. Astor took advantage of the Jay Treaty between England and the United States in 1794, which opened new markets in Canada and the Great Lakes region. In London, Astor at once made a contract with the Northwest Company, who from Montreal rivaled the trade interests of the Hudson's Bay Company, then based in London. Astor imported furs from Montreal to New York and shipped them to Europe. By 1800, he had amassed almost $250,000, and had become one of the leading figures in the fur trade. His agents worked throughout the western areas and were ruthless in competition. In 1800, following the example of the Empress of China, the first American trading vessel to China, Astor traded furs, teas, and sandalwood with Canton in China, and greatly benefited from it. The U.S. Embargo Act in 1807, however, disrupted Astor's import-export business because it closed off trade with Canada. With the permission of President Thomas Jefferson, Astor established the American Fur Company on April 6, 1808. He later formed subsidiaries, the Pacific Fur Company, and the Southwest Fur Company, in order to control fur trading in the Great Lakes areas and Columbia River region. His Columbia River trading post at Fort Astoria was the first United States community on the Pacific coast. He financed the overland Astor expedition in 1810 €12 to reach the outpost. Members of the expedition were to discover South Pass, through which hundreds of thousands of settlers on the Oregon, Mormon, and California trails passed through the Rocky Mountains. Astor's fur trading ventures were disrupted during the War of 1812, when the English captured his trading posts. In 1816, he joined the opium smuggling trade. His American Fur Company purchased 10 tons of Turkish opium, then shipped the contraband item to Canton on the packet ship Macedonian. Astor later left the China opium trade and sold solely to England. Astor's business rebounded in 1817 after the U.S. Congress passed a protectionist law that barred foreign fur traders from U.S. territories. The American Fur Company came to dominate trading in the area around the Great Lakes. In 1822, Astor established the Astor House on Mackinac Island as headquarters for the reorganized American Fur Company, making the island a metropolis of the fur trade. A lengthy description based on documents, diaries, etc. was given by Washington Irving in his travelogue Astoria. Astor's commercial connections extended over the entire globe, and his ships were found in every sea. Real estate and retirement. Astor began buying land in New York in 1799 and acquired sizable holdings along the waterfront. After the start of the 19th century, flush with China trade profits, he became more systematic, ambitious, and calculating by investing in New York real estate. In 1803, he bought a 70-acre farm that ran west of Broadway to the Hudson River between 42nd and 46th Streets. That same year, and the following year, he bought considerable holdings from the disgraced Aaron Burr. In the 1830s, Astor foresaw that the next big boom would be the build-up of New York, which would soon emerge as one of the world's greatest cities. Astor withdrew from the American Fur Company, as well as all his other ventures, and used the money to buy and develop large tracts of Manhattan real estate. Astor correctly predicted New York's rapid growth northward on Manhattan Island, and he purchased more and more land beyond the then existing city limits. Astor rarely built on his land, but leased it to others for rent and their use. After retiring from his business, Astor spent the rest of his life as a patron of culture. He supported the ornithologist John James Audubon in his studies, artwork, and travels, and the presidential campaign of Henry Clay. Marriage and family. On September 19, 1785, Astor married Sarah Cox Todd, the daughter of Scottish immigrants Adam Todd and Sarah Cox. Although she brought him a dowry of only $300, she possessed a frugal mind and a business judgment that he declared better than that of most merchants. She assisted him in the practical details of his business. They had 8 children: Magdalene Astor, who married Reverend John Bristed, mother of Charles Astor Bristed; Sarah Todd Astor, stillborn; John Jacob Astor Jr., sickly and mentally unstable; William Backlhouse Astor Sr., who married Margaret Rebecca Armstrong. They had 7 children including John Jacob Astor III and William Backlhouse Astor Jr. Dorothea Astor, Henry Astor II, died in infancy; Eliza Astor, unnamed son, died within a few days of being born. Fraternal organizations. Astor was a Freemason, and served as Master of Holland Lodge No. 8, New York City in 1788. Later he served as Grand Treasurer for the Grand Lodge of New York. Legacy. At the time of his death in 1848, Astor was the wealthiest person in the United States, leaving an estate estimated to be worth at least $20 million. His estimated net worth, if calculated as a fraction of the U.S. gross domestic product at the time, would have been equivalent to $110.1 billion in 2006 U.S. dollars, making him the 5th richest person in American history. An estimate based on inflation from the legally set American gold standard rate of $21 per ounce in the 1850s would result in a much more conservative net worth of $1.272 billion in 2011 dollars. In his will, Astor bequeathed $400,000 to build the Astor Library for the New York Public, which was later consolidated with other libraries to form the New York Public Library. He also left $50,000 for a poorhouse and orphanage in his German hometown of Waldorf. The Astor House is now operated as a museum honoring Astor and serves as a renowned fest hall for marriages. Astor donated $25,000 to the German Society of the City of New York, whose chairman he was from 1837 until 1841. Also, he bequeathed $30,000 for a professor's chair in German literature at Columbia University, but due to differences he had with the deanship, he erased this donation from the testament. Astor left the bulk of his fortune to his second son William, because his eldest son, John Jr., was sickly and mentally unstable. Astor left enough money to care for John Jr. for the rest of his life. Astor is buried in Trinity Church Cemetery in Manhattan, New York. Many members of his family had joined its congregation, but Astor remained a member of the local German Reformed congregation to his death. Herman Melville used Astor as a symbol of men who made the earliest fortunes in New York in his novella, Bartleby, the Scrivener. The pair of marble lions that sit by the entrance of the New York Public Library at 5th Avenue and 42nd Street were originally named Leo Astor and Leo Lenox, after Astor and James Lennox, who founded the library from his own collection. Next, they were called Lord Astor and Lady Lennox. Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia renamed them Patience and Fortitude during the Great Depression. In 1908, when the Association Football Club FC Astoria Waldorf was formed in Astor's birthplace in Germany, the group added Astoria to its name in his, and the family's, honor. See also, Russian-American Company, Astor Family, Astoria, Oregon, Astoria, Queens, Astor Place, Astor Row, List of wealthiest historical figures, List of richest Americans in history, List of Freemasons, Waldorf Astoria Hotel. Notes. References. Citations Bibliography John Jacob Astor, The 20th Century Biographical Dictionary of Notable Americans, Boston, The Biographical Society, 1904, pages 159. John Jacob Astor, Encyclopædia Britannica, 9th ed., Vol. 2, New York, Charles Scribner's Sons, 1878, pages 737. John Jacob Astor, Encyclopædia Britannica, 11th ed., Vol. 2, Cambridge, Cambridge University Press, 1911, pages 793–794. John Jacob Astor, Harper Unregistered Trademark as New Monthly Magazine, Vol. XXX, Harper's Magazine Colorado, 1865, pages 308–323. Further reading, Abelling, Herbert C. Johann Jacob Astor Zum 150. Todestag. Waldorf, Astor Stiftung, 1998. Abelling, Herbert C. Johann Jacob Astor, Ian Lebensbild. Waldorf, Astor Stiftung, 1998. Abelling, Herbert C. W. O. Horn, Johann Jacob Astor, Ian Lebensbild aus dem Buch, Fahr 1/4 das Vokansein Jugend. Waldorf, Astor Stiftung, 2004. Smith, Arthur Douglas Howden. John Jacob Astor, Landlord of New York. Philadelphia, J. B. Lippincott, 1929. Youngman, Anna. The Fortune of John Jacob Astor, Journal of Political Economy, Part 1, Volume 16, Number 6, pages 345–368. Part 2, Volume 16, Number 7, pages 436–441. Part 3, Volume 16, Number 8, pages 514–530. Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 in JSTOR, Waldrop, Carol Chandler. More Colonial Women, 25 Pioneers of Early America. McFarland, 2004. External links, John Jacob Astor at Find a Grave, John Jacob Astor Business Records at Baker Library Historical Collections, Harvard Business School, the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, the Astor House in Germany, now a museum, German Society of the City of New York, Astoria, author Washington Irving. Full text, Frontline Show, National Portrait Gallery, texts on Wikisource, Astor, John Jacob, An American Merchant. Collier's New Encyclopedia 1921. Astor, John Jacob, American Merchant. Encyclopedia Americana. 1920. Astor, John Jacob. The New Student's Reference Work 1914. Astor, John Jacob. Encyclopædia Britannica 1911. Astor, John Jacob. The Nuttall Encyclopedia. 1907. Astor, John Jacob. An American Merchant. New International Encyclopedia 1905. Astor, John Jacob. The American Cyclopedia. 1879. Astor, John Jacob. Encyclopedia Britannica 2. 1878.